On this show, we talk about kids and money all the time. And we talk about all the things: earning, spending, saving, budgeting, literacy, blah, blah, blah. What we talk less about is charitable giving and how to think about and integrate that into your holistic view of how you're going to manage money over time. John Bromley is the CEO and founder of Charitable Impact, and they are launching something called Charitable Allowance. And it's a super practical way to engage your kids in thinking about the areas that are important to them and the areas that they would like to contribute. He joins us today from Vancouver to talk about Charitable Allowance. Hello there, John.
Hi, thanks for having me. Appreciate being here.
Why did you decide to start Charitable Allowance? What was the insight? What was the idea?
The insight is that we all have a nature of generosity, but what happens if you don't nurture nature was the big question. And applying that to charitable giving, something I spend all my time thinking about, the answer was, well, it's not going to be great. Like if you've got a young athlete and you don't let them play soccer, they're not going to turn into a soccer player. If you've got a young generous person and you don't nurture their generosity, they're going to be less likely to apply that later in life. So basically, the genesis of it was, where do you learn about giving? Where do you learn to take action and all the agency that brings you in life? So the Charitable Allowance was launched to nurture that.
So you've got this tool. I accessed it on my laptop, so it looks like a website. Tell us how it works.
Yeah, so the mentor or the parent involved puts money into their own giving account. So everyone at Charitable Impact gets their own giving account. It's what the charity world refers to as a donor advised fund. You can look that up if you want. So everyone gets their own giving account. So the parent puts their money into their own giving account. They get the tax receipt. They're the ones who need that. Then they send the money to their kids' account so that kids get their own account. The parent can co-administer that with the kid if they want, so that they can have control over that. But then the money's in the kid's account. This acts kind of like a bank account, but just for charitable giving. And then the money's there and the kid sees it and they have to decide how they're going to use it. They can use it by giving it to any registered charity in the country. So any charity in Canada is there to be found. They can hold the money if they don't know what to do with it yet. And then there's some other little things they can do, like they can send the money to someone else. Maybe a friend's having a birthday and they want to give them charitable dollars, or they can start a little crowdfunding page and raise money with other people. But the idea really is get the money to the kid, just like a normal allowance, and mentor them as they go through the decision making to spend it. And it's the key from my perspective is it's their decision.
Yeah. Now, a normal allowance, you would drip the money to the kid, $10 a week, $10 a month, whatever the $100 a month, whatever the amount is. Is this similar? Is the idea that the parent would fund this on an ongoing basis, and so that the young person would be able to see those dollars accumulate and get like engaged in the kind of magnitude of their impact?
That's a great question. And, our suggestion is that the parent or the mentor drips the amount to the kid, $10 a month, $10 a week, whatever you think is right. But at the end of the day, the parent is in charge of how they want to do it. It's their tool and they can do it the way they want. For what it's worth, I've got two children. Both of my kids get a charitable allowance. And my wife and I give them each $10 every month. And sometimes they sit on it and think about what they're going to do, and sometimes they get really engaged right away and know what they want to do with it, and they send it to a charity of their choice.
What has their reaction been to this? And I ask because, I work in personal finance. My kid has been almost like proactively disinterested in some of these topics because it's like dad and dad's work. What has your experience been? Are your kids better than mine? Are they younger than mine? Are they more engaged than mine?
I would be shocked if my kids were better than yours. Um, funny when you say, dad's work. There's probably some truth to that in my world too. The reaction we have from parents is excellent. And one of the things we're really interested in, just for what it's worth, is like, to what extent does this re-trigger adults to be like, huh, what am I doing about my charitable giving? You
Yeah.
know, do as I say, not as I do, as we as we parents like to say. But the reaction has been really positive, and this really works just like an allowance. You give the money to the kid, and you let them make their own mistakes as they go about spending it, but you mentor them along the way. And so I think that what we'll continue to see is parents going, "This is a cool tool, and we're going to try, keep our kid engaged." And that's where I think we're there to help people with that also, right? What are some ideas on how to keep kids engaged? And we've got some ideas and experience with that.
The never ending challenge for most parents is finding the line on uh, what they tell their kids to do versus where they leave it to the kid to succeed or fail in the manner that they choose. This is relatively low stakes, but I can imagine some parents will be like, what? The turtles? Who cares about the turtles? We need to be figuring out. How do you find the balance as a parent of what volume you're going to transmit your opinions on?
Well, I'll tell you, I mean, teach their own also. I'll tell you what I think is most important about the charitable allowance, and it's that the child grows up to understand that they have agency, that they've got time, they've got talents, they've got treasure, which is money, and they've got ties, they've got social network, they've got people they know, and that those things can be used to contribute towards making the world a better place. And they can have a fun, very meaningful life doing that, or time doing that. That's what I think is most important about the charitable allowance, for what it's worth. So I don't sweat the small stuff with my own kids. I mean, to each their own. I don't sweat the small stuff and argue about whether the turtles should be funded or not.
Right.
What I choose to do is say, tell me more about why you want to fund the turtles.
Yeah.
And in that world where they get weak and it's just like, oh, I threw a dart at the wall and it's turtles, and there's no meaning behind what they're trying to achieve. That's when I step in and say, hey, let's have a longer chat about it.
Yeah. And if you don't have a clear idea, maybe let's not contribute the money this month and let's let it accumulate for a little bit until you find something that really captures your attention. I
Totally
think
agreed.
one of the big questions for everybody these days is managing limited resources. People don't have a lot of discretionary income. They're trying to deal with inflation and mortgage renewals and just a gazillion things. How do you make the case for that giving mindset, given the scarcity in which so many families are operating right now?
Well, first of all, the first thing I say is that participation matters more than the quantum, right? So you've got to think about it the way that doing something matters. Also, it's to remember that you've got time and talents and money. So how do you combine those things to get the best experience for you and your kid in this experience? The other thing is, I think it's really important to remember that just starting is what's most important. And so can we find a little bit and focus on the education and the experience of the kid and what they go through, and worry a little less about whether we're actually saving the world. When you're saving the world, get into that mindset as a parent, and what are you doing yourself if you have extra resources. But when it comes to the kid, I think it's really about their experience, getting them life skills that can be learned through the experiencing charitable giving, and focusing on that. So it's not to say be selfish about it, but remember that this is about helping your kid learn something in life through charitable giving. And in that way, it's a little bit more in that mindset. Okay, it's a little bit more like, can you afford to pay for the soccer fees to play on the team? Can you afford to get that music lesson? Like, I really do think this stuff is about developing the next generation, educating them on important things in life through charitable giving.
One of the conversations we will want them to be thinking about as adults is the efficacy of their contribution. So, I'm talking in their 30s and 40s. I hope they're going through financial statements and saying, oh my God, like 80% of the revenue of this charity went to administration, only 20 went to funding the services at the end of the day. That's not something you're going to talk to with a 10-year-old, but are there ways that you can seed that at an early age to think about the biggest impact possible?
Well, yes, I do. And there's Yeah, the short answer is yes. So there's two ways to look at that question. One is like, how are they going to get to be able to do that by the time they're 30 or 40 if they don't sort of start now, right? We don't all just turn on our ability to be magnificent at things. It takes charitable giving is a skill, especially when you want to do it in an effective way. And then so when they're younger kids, I think it's just looking at the effectiveness of the giving in a way that is most meaningful to the development of your child. Okay, because if we're talking $10 a month, this is the context back to the development of the child. So, for example, instead of being like, is it the best charity ever? Is this the type of charity that you're actually interested in?
Hmm.
Is it a topic that you quote love? You love the trees. Every time we go hiking, you love the trees, etc., etc. Okay, let's find a topic on that we can give to, learn a little bit more about the trees in the process. Now, why do I say that? Because when you are interested in what you're giving to, it creates the context for it to be a lot easier to understand whether or not you're being effective with your giving because you know something about what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. And you can see the level of engagement. Sure, maybe dad gave me the $10 to contribute to the turtles, but now I'm saving my snow shoveling and lawn cutting money. And now I'm saying for the family vacation, we got to go see the turtles. And I've got a turtle poster on my wall and all those sorts of virtuous things that can cycle and pile on and make a bigger impact over time.
Well, that type of notion is exactly what we hope to see continue to come out of people who participate in the charitable allowance. I mean, that's
Right.
also the context in which charitable giving should be a part of our lives. It's not just, hey, we're rich and we give money away. It's like we choose to take some of what we have, no matter how little it is, and use some of it to contribute towards creating change for the things we care about.
Yeah.
And
Love it.
getting that into the kids early and then being like, you can go on vacation and see the turtles and learn more about it. And you can go to university and study science and learn even more about the turtles. And you can become a turtle professional when you grow
Yeah.
up. And if you love the
Yeah.
turtles, please do. That's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff we want to see from
It's
this.
great. It's great. I love the intention in teaching our kids to live life intentionally in all ways, but in your particular passion area as it relates to giving. Where do people find out more? How do they access the tool?
Well, we're at charitableimpact.com. As you said, we're online. This is a web-based tool, so it's easy to access and participate in. You can also find us on social media at We Are Charitable. Last, I'd say we are humans, and look us up, find our phone number, give us a call. We'd love to talk to you.
What? My God, like voice to voice? That's insane. Well,
Yeah,
John,
you're not
thank you
even
for being
talking to an AI.
right. Thank you for being voice to voice with me today. I appreciate
Hey,
it.
thank you for having me and for giving time to charitable giving in this topic.
John Bromley, CEO and founder of Charitable Impact. And he was here to talk about a specific tool called Charitable Allowance, but also this bigger idea of how we can engage our young people in being a force for good in their lives.